guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for another round of comic book reviews. And today we're talking about, well, the first book is Star Wars issue 20. So if you recall, we talked about Star Wars issue 19 as possibly, it was by default the reason I was going to read more Star Wars comics. And this is alright. I think I got myself too excited by the end of issue 19, because you remember, issue 19, turns out Luke has the holocron of Jedi Master Yoda giving lessons. I'm like, okay, so this is how we go. I jumped the gun, as I said before, because I, for some reason, thought that, okay, so we're going to watch his entire training under Yoda. Like, well, no. That would be the best way to end this sort of post-Empire Strikes Back continuity, wouldn't it? Then we go to post-Return of the Jedi, and we see exactly what Luke's done with everything. No. So, all he's learned from Yoda, from this holocron of Yoda, is pretty much everything Yoda told him in Empire Strikes Back. With one little addendum is that there are certain places where the Force is very strong, very concentrated, and it can be a very dangerous place to go to if you're not trained or prepared. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant had a place like that, and on Gazian in the Mid-Rim. So Luke goes there. The planet's really just sort of like one huge surface of what looks like mushrooms. And when Luke steps onto it, he gets pulled in, and effectively an imprint of him is made, and he meets sort of the collective consciousness of this planet. And it takes the form of a Jedi named Elzar Mann. And Elzar is he's alright. He mentions that, he came here on a training journey to understand. And yeah, it's really just a conversation of exactly what the state of the galaxy is in, where the Jedi are. And what's cool is Luke talks about how, when he met Obi-Wan, he told him that he was taking his first step into a larger world, and that was it was exciting. His life, his mind, it was all getting bigger. And the Force helped him with an impossible battle. It was all really making him into a hero. And for years after that, apparently years passed, I didn't know that. I'm never quite sure of the exact timeline from A New Hope to Return of the Jedi, because I've never really cared. But what a cool line here, and you've probably remembered from Last Jedi, is, that's how it was. Luke Skywalker, hero of the rebellion, with his laser sword. It felt pretty good. And then Ben came and told him he had to learn from a teacher. He didn't explain, but he did what he said. He studied, and it hasn't been good since then. He lost his hand fighting Vader. He's lost Han. He feels kind of lost with his training now. And since meeting Vader and finding out that, that's his father, he's even more worried that if he does this wrong, he'll turn into, well, his father. This is something Luke's always sort of had to deal with, the sort of fear that if he does this wrong, if he makes a wrong step, what if he becomes like his father? And Elzar talks about his time at the academy when he was training. And, it was hard. He had constant help, brilliant teachers, good friends. And even then, he wanted to just stop. And he talks about how the Jedi have always been what the time period needed them to be. Sometimes they were warriors, sometimes they were teachers, sometimes they were the opposite. There's, drawing inward, studying the Force and its mysteries, just exploring. And other times they're carved down to almost nothing, and that seems to be what Luke is, what the Force wants him to be. But then Elzar tells him, like, look, this is something no one's ever told you before. None of the other Jedi have told you. You don't have to be a Jedi, dude. They're not the only game in town. The Order is just a framework for understanding the Force and using it to safely protect the life and light. You have to go down the path that feels right to you and make the decisions that are right for you. And I think it's a great line that, Luke, there's a right way. That the Jedi is not the be all end all way to do this. You have to do it your way. And it gives him a book, and it sends him out. And overall, this was a really fun story. It wasn't an amazing story, but again, that's more my fault because I got too excited. Next is Batgirls by Becky Cloonan. So, I'm on the fence about this book. I don't dislike it, but I'm not wowed by it yet. So, Batgirls takes place after the events of Fear State by James Tynion, a very overdone, beautifully drawn book under the main Batman line. And here, Barbara Gordon, Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, a.k.a. the three Batgirls in DC Comics, are kicking out on their own. And I guess it's Burnside or some sort of midtown of Gotham City. I don't know. And we have a very sort of community-driven feel here that, hey, Batgirls and a part of Gotham City really trying to, set themselves up, and they're going to, get involved, not really involve the community, but sort of build a rapport with these people here. That's not the problem, and there's a lot of great character here. I think Clunen's endeared me to these characters. I've already was endeared to them, but her take on them, I think, is great. Barbara in this sort of big sister mentor role that she's never really been in recent years. Cass and Steph with their dynamic. This is also the first time Cass and Steph have been Batgirls at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, because after Barbara Gordon became Oracle, for a while there was no Batgirl, then No Man's Land happened, then Huntress was Batgirl for like 10 minutes and everyone hated it, and then Cassandra Cain was Batgirl, and then that was great for a long time, and then Stephanie Brown took up the mantle after Bruce died, and Cass had to do a thing. So now they're both sharing the mantle, and it's really just sort of them learning to work together with this new dynamic. And that's fine. The issue is I haven't found the part where this story works. Like, this other Oracle story has not really panned out for me. Like, I don't care. It was there in Future State, it was there in Fear State, it's there in Nightwing, it's here in Batgirls. Hopefully this comes to a head. Like, I think I've even seen Seer, like this other Oracle, and I don't care. I just can't bring myself to care. Because I could swear we did this in Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. And also we've got the remnants of the Magistrate, like this other Splinter Cell that worships Simon Stagg, or Simon Saint. And, okay, sure, but the problem is the Magistrate was never so much of a character, which sort of been the problem across all these books, that I don't quite understand the Magistrate, let alone the entire system. Like, I read it. I read Dark Detective. I read Nightwing's Future State book. I read so much of it, and the problem is the Magistrate feels so different across different books that I don't quite get it. So these other radicals that apparently wouldn't pass background checks anywhere somehow were able to be in the Magistrate. Like, it feels like this information alone would have totally delegitimized Magistrate and even Mayor Nakano for doing it. But no, here it is. Overall, though, I'm probably going to give this 1 to 2 more issues to try to win me over. So we've got some finished books here. Robin and Batman by Jeff Lemire. So this story here is possibly the best Robin story I've read in a while. And it's about Dick Grayson, so big surprise. Dick Grayson is once again proving he's the best. But anyway, what I liked about this story was it really felt like he was doing another Robin Year One story, but it's sort of a bit different because this is Robin trying to... Well, he's not Robin yet. I think that's sort of the weird thing. Like, it's Dick Grayson trying to prove he can be Robin, that he can be the psychic, he can go on his own, he can be trusted with this. And it's not really going as well. Like, Dick's trying to sort of find the balance between the darkness of Batman and who he wants to be. This is something Dick Grayson's always sort of wrestled with in one form or another, trying to be himself, trying to create his own identity as a hero, and he does it better than just about anyone else in the superhero game. But here, he's young, he's getting in fights at school, the public perception is Bruce doesn't care about him, like he just took him in as like a publicity stunt, and Alfred's the real paternal figure, which that's the one bit that's true. But seeing Dick trying to find a balance in his life, like he doesn't really have any friends at school, despite the fact he'd be really popular, and we know how popular he is with the ladies now. But seeing this story here, sort of like, it helps him define not just who Robin is to him, but who Robin will be going forward. That Robin will be both necessary but independent of both Batman and even the person who dons the costume at the time. Which I think is sort of where Tim Drake has sort of fallen down, because Tim Drake's never been able to move past the mantle of Robin because there was nowhere else for him to go, and Damian Wayne is Robin now. So what does Tim do? Tim is the other Robin, and we should just go back to being Red Robin, really. Like, let's just do that and go from there, and have people mistake him for Night Owl. Was it Dr. Midnight? Dr. Midnight, that's right. Overall, this is one of the most heartfelt stories in DC right now. It's a short 3-issue story. You lose nothing by picking it up. Great art, too. Next, we have Batman the Imposter by Mattson Tomlin. This feels like, I'm pretty sure it is, set in the same universe as Matt Reeves' Batman, which is a bit weird because technically we're in spoiler territory, depending on how you look at it, but no one really has any obligation to follow the story. But let's say it is. This story opens up with Batman crashing into Leslie Tompkins' office and her finding out, oh crap, this is Bruce Wayne, that kid that I interviewed a couple years ago, and found that he was real messed up. It's almost like he saw his parents get shot. And we get a good rundown exactly where Bruce has been, or at least where the city's been at this point. Alfred is left. Commissioner Gordon is out of Gotham City, like he's been removed from office, from his position. And currently there's a guy going around as Batman killing criminals. And this entire story, this 3-issue story, is told primarily, well, at least the meat of it is told through interviews with Bruce and Leslie. And I think that's a really cool way to tell the story, because I think when we start focusing on telling a more grounded story, at some point for Batman, this is going to be the more grounded story. Like, as he's trying to solve the mystery, there's this other character, this back and forth with him and Leslie, which sort of fleshes out his character, and it really sort of helps you realize that this Batman's kind of hollow. Like, he's not really ready. Like, he's like Matt Reeves' Batman, and we saw in the trailers, he's a lot this real massive anger and rage, and outside of that, he's kind of, there's nothing else to him. Like, he's trying to play the game here, trying to do something more, but he's not really mentally prepared for it. Like, he's prepared to fight his way through, and he mentions at one point that in Gotham City there was one night with no violent crime, but when he's trying to sort of work the Bruce Wayne charm to understand Detective Wong and figure out what she knows about the imposter Batman, he finds himself falling for it. He finds himself unable to sort of balance any of this out. And the end of this story, I think, is really great, because it does sort of, I think it's a humbling moment for Bruce and a humbling moment for Batman. The question is, and I think this story here, whether intended to or not, sort of punches a hole in the idea that the real face of Bruce Wayne is Batman. I think that is a fake face. I think that is Bruce trying to rationalize that it would be better to be Batman. But I think to be an effective Batman and to have an effect on Gotham City that's going to last, he has to redefine that face. He has to come up with something more to do with all that money, all those skills. And yeah, overall, I think it was surprisingly good. Like, I passed on the first 2 issues of this, and then I heard someone give a review for it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick this up, and I like it. The end of this was, I think, really great. Wesker's in this, oddly enough, and we don't get enough Wesker. Like, I complain about not enough Riddler or Two-Face, but Wesker also doesn't get enough love. Like, he showed up for, like, what, 10 minutes in Tom King's Batman? That's it. And then Kite Man just showed up and took over. But anyway. So our final bit, Pokemon X and Y. Because why not? I found it was coming out. Like, you know what? Let's read this. And like most Pokemon Adventures manga, it's better than the anime to some extent. It's better than the games because it takes the game and applies, I think, a more straightforward story to it. A more interesting story to it. And like X and Y, but also it improves on the Pokemon X and Y game because already these chuckleheads, Tierno, Shauna, and Trevor, are more interesting because they're not just the same sense. Like, I want to dance, I want to research, I want to just be Shauna. And to be fair, the story does do that, but it does a better job of fleshing them out. Like, I actually like these characters now. So the premise of this is one of our 2 protagonists, X and Y, because it's Pokemon, they're childhood friends with Tierno, Trevor, and Shauna, and X was a junior Pokemon champion. Like, he was pretty much a prodigy when it came to Pokemon battling, and all of a sudden he just shut himself off from the world, wouldn't leave his house, wouldn't battle with Pokemon, and his friends been trying to get him out, especially Y, who wants to be a Pokemon, I think she wants to be a Pokemon racer, but she wants to fly instead of ride Rhyhorns. And while trying to get him out of his house, Evital and Xerneas start fighting in the front yard. And like, okay, Team Flare's here trying to get what, the bracelet on X's wrist? Well, I guess we gotta go find Professor Sycamore and go from there. And that's it. The problem is, though, X is still a shut-in, so they have to carry him on this platform where he's wrapped in like a tent. I'm like, this is beyond extra. We have to stop. Someone beat him. And it's a fun story overall. This first volume was really good. I definitely will keep reading the rest of it. The difference is, like with every Pokemon game, it's still going to be pretty much relatively the same. The difference is the scale will be much better. Like if you want to find out how much better Pokemon is as Pokemon Adventures as opposed to the games, read the Red, Blue, and Green arc and go from there to Yellow to Gold and Silver. It's, oh my god, it's so good. Even Ruby and Sapphire with the sort of Deus Ex Machina ending is still really good. So anyway, yeah, those were some of the books we read this week. If you are new to the Bug, thank you for your like, comment, share, subscribe. Leave your thoughts down about what you thought about this video, and if you read any good books, let me know in the comment section. I'll catch you all later. This is Bug Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.